Guys, I'm going to tell you, this story right here is going to make a lot of you guys' day because the Democrats are already falling apart. And the main reason is because the Democrats rely on over-promising and under-delivering, thinking that you are too stupid and your memory is too short to actually hold them accountable for the things that they have promised. And every election cycle that comes around, they always promise the world. And then if they happen to get elected, they always under-deliver. And you remember, guys, when President Trump came out and demanded $2,000 stimulus checks, the Democrats rushed to get on board with it because they saw it as an opportunity to win Georgia. And quite honestly, that strategy worked. However, the Democrats knew internally that they were not willing to pass another $2,000 check on top of the $600 that we already received. However, they ran with it anyways. And not only did they run with telling people that they're going to get $2,000 on top of the $600 that they already received, but they said it will be done immediately. Okay? Now, it is a day after Biden's inauguration, and the only promises that I see Biden working on are promises to illegal immigrants and the LGBTQ community and all these other groups. Okay? But I don't see him working on the stimulus package. I don't see that $2,000 check coming in the mail. Matter of fact, it ain't even $2,000 anymore. It's $1,400. The Democrats finessed, okay? I've been hearing Biden talk about calling on Congress to push legislation to give citizenship status to illegals. But I haven't heard him talking about calling on Congress to immediately pass legislation to help the American people. Only thing I've heard is him backtrack. And because of this, voters in Georgia are upset. They are pissed. And the quotes that I'm going to read you guys are sad but satisfying at the same time because the Georgia voters feel bamboozled, hoodwinked, led astray. They fell for the okie doke, and they're letting the Democrats know. But before we get into that, my name is Greg Foreman, and you're watching A Black Conservative Perspective. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share A Black Conservative Perspective, a.k.a. a leftist worst nightmare. You can also follow me on Twitter at GForemanBCP. Let's get it. All right, guys, just so we can get a little reminder here, let's take a look at the Democrat promises before the election so that we get a clear picture in terms of what they actually promised.
We will be able to pass $2,000 stimulus checks for the people next week when we win these races in Georgia and get economic relief directly into the bank accounts of the American people who are suffering right now.
By electing John and the Reverend, you can make an immediate difference in your own lives, the lives of the people all across this country, because their election will put an end to the block in Washington on that $2,000 stimulus check. That money that will go out the door immediately. Tell people who are in real trouble.
All right, guys, you see it? You see it? He said it will go out the door immediately. Okay? That's what Biden said. Right? That's what Ossoff said. Immediately. Now, Joe Biden also on January 10th, before he released his stimulus plan, said that we need $2,000 checks. Okay? That didn't say $1,400. Now, Biden, after he came out with his stimulus plan, put $1,400 checks in there. And again, the progressives were mad at this. They were upset. And rightfully so. Because this is explicitly going back on your promise. These guys made promises for $2,000 checks. Again, they had headlines. Look at NBC. This headline was like, right before the election, populist pitch vowing $2,000 stimulus checks, trying to grift off of Trump. Right? So everybody, there's no argument in terms of what promise was made. Now, I have some quotes from an article from Mediaite that chronicles some Georgian voters who voted Democrat who said they feel betrayed because of Biden going back on his promises. Not only are they not getting the whole 2,000, but it's not going to be done immediately. And even some analysts are saying that we may not get a stimulus check till mid-March. Okay? So let's get into these quotes because I surely enjoy reading these. Oscar Zaro voted for the Democrat Party slate during a recent Senate runoff election. He lives in Hiram, Georgia, just outside of Powder Springs. Zaro said that Georgians in the 14th were spurred on to vote more Democratic than usual this year, due in part to the promise of $2,000 checks by Warnock and Ossoff. Quote, the last weeks heading towards the runoff election, especially after Trump endorsed the $2,000 payments, Warnock and Ossoff made it a point to endorse and exclusively say $2,000 checks, he said. A lot of people in my district voted blue in the runoff for two main reasons. Loeffler and Perdue denying us relief during COVID while profiting millions themselves, and $2,000 checks. They really underestimated how much people are hurting economically, Zaro added, referring to Democrats who he views as reneging on their word. Wow. Again, they tried to buy the votes. Now you have to execute, Democrats. And as you can see, like I've been telling you guys, they always pull the okie doke. This is the Democrat playbook. I'm going to tell you something about Democrats. They are a lot more insidious about how they go about their finesse than Republicans. The Republican finesse is out there in the open. Like McConnell will just straight up tell you, I ain't with it. The Democrats will pretend like they like you. They'll pretend like they with it. But then they'll have a knife behind their back waiting to stab you at the right time. That's how Democrats roll. I'd much rather deal with somebody like McConnell because at least I know what's up when I'm dealing with him. So Rachel Kahn is a left-wing organizer and podcaster from Atlanta, Georgia. She reluctantly voted for Biden because the Peach State swung low enough for Democrats to capture in 2020. Kahn pointed out, however, that she voted enthusiastically in both the general and runoff elections for Warnock and Ossoff because of a, quote, immeasurable hatred for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. Frankly, I just want them to feel sad, she added, referring to the outgoing GOP senators. While generally skeptical of the Democrat Party as a vehicle for progress, Kahn said the expectation for Georgia voters was that Biden and the two winning Senate candidates had sincerely promised them $2,000 checks. Quote, in my opinion, as a person who does marketing, advertising, and public communications as my job, I would confidently say their messaging implied an additional $2,000, not $2,000 minus $600, she told Mediaite. While calling the backtracking on the stimulus amount and Biden's apparent embracement of austerity politics bad, Kahn, who was born and raised in Georgia, said she wasn't particularly surprised Democrats are now mounting a fine print effort to explain away those earlier promises. Other voters and organizers weren't so sanguine about the Democrats' quick vote face on the meaning of $2,000 checks. Rogelio Linares, who hails from Atlanta, canvassed innumerable Georgia voters as a part of one service industry union's massive outreach program on behalf of the Democratic Party during the Senate runoffs. I was on the ground and I knocked on over 1,000 doors, he told Mediaite in an interview. At the doors, I was literally telling people, $2K checks, you can rely on this. I'm a man of principle and morals, and I feel like shit. I lied to them. I was lying to them the whole time. I was lying to people that weren't relying on this. At the time, I didn't know it was a lie, but that was not the reality. Wow. The Democrats had their foot soldiers out here lying to people. Even the foot soldiers got a problem with it. The foot soldiers know that the Democrats finessed, right? Like, I'm telling you, man, the Democrats can't stay out of their own way. They can't stay out of their own way. Okay? It's really ridiculous. Linares consistently reiterated that many Georgia voters feel taken advantage, but crestfallen because there's essentially nothing they can do about the Democrat Party's abrupt reversal on the amount of direct aid currently being proposed. Quote, this is pretty much a betrayal of the working class, he said. Quote, I know people are pissed off about it, Linares continued. People are very mad about it. We are so on our knees as a country. We don't have much leverage. The working class, small businesses who are getting hammered, I'm pissed off. Everyone's pissed off. Union workers are pissed off. It's sad. It's absurd. It's disgusting. But there's not much people can do. Justin Wade is from Tucker, Georgia, a city located in vote-rich DeKalb County. He said attempts by party faithful to defend Biden's $1,400 proposal made no sense in the context of the $500 million campaign Democrats ran in his state. Quote, I'm from Georgia and I voted for Ossoff and Warnock in the January runoff elections, he told Mediaite. Prior to the runoff, I saw numerous ads and statements promising $2,000 stimulus checks. Many of these were made after the $600 checks went out. On January 4th, the day before the runoff, Biden said if Democrats win Georgia, $2,000 checks will go out the door. Considering he said this after many of the $600 checks had already gone out, I would have been crazy to think that he actually meant $1,400 checks. Warnock, Ossoff, and Kamala Harris and others have all pushed for $2,000 checks, but none of them have called on Biden to push for $2,000 checks in addition to the $600 checks he said. Considering the Democrats control Congress and the presidency, they could have pushed for more if they wanted to. This is a bad sign for how they'll govern for the next 4 years. And he is exactly right about that. Because the Democrats have finessed. Georgia voters feel betrayed, okay, by this. And I don't blame him, right? And Biden's so stupid that he should have just threw the $2,000 in the stimulus package from the get-go. And the reason why is because he already knows he has to negotiate with Mitch McConnell and the Republican Senate in terms of trying to actually get a real deal. So he already negotiated himself short of the $2,000 by starting at $1,400. So now the Republicans are like, why should we go over $1,400 when that's where you started a negotiation at? Again, this is how stupid the Democrats are, bruh. Like, just think about it. This is why I can't vote Democrat. These people are incompetent. Okay? Like, I mean, this is simple, guys. If Biden was smart, on the first day, instead of trying to take care of illegal immigrants and all these other groups, he should have won into office and demanded a standalone bill for $2,000 checks to be proposed that day. That should have been the first thing that he did as soon as he got in office. The first thing, okay? That should have been what he said in his inauguration speech. The first thing that came out of his mouth should have been, I am going to propose $2,000 stimulus checks. Again, missed opportunity here, right? And I guess I'm happy that the Democrats are so incompetent, but at the same time, it just blows my mind how they just missed this easy ass layup. This is a layup for the Democrats. The Republicans are reeling right now. Okay? We're dealing with impeachment. We're dealing with civil war within our own party. You know, we don't even know if our guy will be eligible to run in 2024. The Democrats have all the momentum, but yet they took that momentum, and the first thing they did was took care of illegal immigrants and turned their back and backstab the people that voted for them. That's what they did. I mean, this is day one stuff, man. On day one, the first 100-some days, you're supposed to get what you want, right? Biden's running around, you know, like he's FDR. Shoot, when FDR got in on March 4th, on March 9th, 5 days later, Congress had passed the Emergency Banking Act, okay? I mean, this man called a special legislature, Congress, together to act, okay? And then over the next 100 days, this man passed 15 pieces of legislation. I know some of you guys may not be a fan of FDR, but I'm just using him as an example. Biden saying he's FDR, but yet only thing I hear him talking about is illegal immigrants. Okay, where's the legislation? The $2,000 checks should have been proposed as a standalone bill on day one because you probably got the votes for it in the Senate. Okay, Rubio said he's on board with it. Josh Hawley's probably on board with it. Lindsey Graham's probably on board with it. That's like 3 people I can think of on top of my head in the GOP. I mean, you get 7, 8 more people on board, you Gucci. Biden, he's not worried about actually trying to get help to the American people like he promised, like they ran on. So the Democrats, man, they digging their own grave. They're digging their own grave, and these people already feel betrayed. from these empty promises, and it's gonna come back to haunt them. If the Republicans will be smart and take this momentum and take advantage of this situation, if they're smart, they take advantage of this. Hopefully, they can steal some thunder from the Democrats, and they may be able to recover earlier from this impending civil war than anticipated. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.